A. For stealing all our savings and leaving town after he cheated. Hi Reddit. I don't even know how to write this, so I'm just going to tell it like it is. I, 26F, was with my ex Josh, 28M, for 4 years. We met through mutual friends at a 4th of July barbecue, and I fell fast and hard. He was charming, funny, a little reckless in that way that feels romantic when you're young and dumb. I thought we had something real. We moved in together after about a year. It was one of those shoebox apartments with a leaky faucet and neighbors who fought loudly through the walls, but it didn't matter. We were building our life. We talked about buying a house eventually. Not a McMansion or anything, just something modest with a yard. Maybe adopt a dog. Maybe travel. The whole deal. After our 2nd year together, we opened a joint savings account. Felt like the next step. We called it the Future Fund, like a dumb inside joke. We both agreed. Any extra money, bonuses, tax refunds, little windfalls would go in there. It was sacred. It wasn't just money, it was trust. Security. Our next chapter. Fast forward to last month. I came home from work like any other Thursday. Josh was already cooking. Pasta. Garlic bread in the oven. I remember I was mid-story about this ridiculous customer I had that day when he interrupted me. "I've been seeing someone," he said like he was reading a weather report. And blinked. "What?" "I've been with someone else. For a while." He didn't even sound ashamed. Just tired. Like confessing was some exhausting favor he was doing for me. I sat down slowly. I couldn't process it. He kept talking. "I didn't want to hurt you, but it just kind of happened. I didn't plan it." That made me laugh. It was the wrong time to laugh, but I couldn't help it. Just kind of happened. What was I supposed to say? Oops. I asked who it was. He hesitated. Pushed. It was a coworker. From his office. They'd gotten close at a team offsite 3 months ago. Few drinks. One thing led to another. Then another. Then it became a situation. I asked if he loved her. He didn't answer at first, then finally said, "I don't know. It feels different." I asked if he loved me. He said, "I don't think so anymore." That broke something in me. Not just because he cheated, but because he was so calm about it. Like this was a mutual decision. Like it wasn't betrayal, just a natural evolution. Packed a bag. My hands were shaking the whole time. He didn't stop me. He didn't cry or apologize. Just said, "I'll give you space." Left. Slept on my friend Jen's couch that night. The first few days were a haze. I told my boss I needed personal leave. I turned my phone off. I cried until I couldn't cry anymore. I stared at the ceiling for hours. Jen was amazing. She didn't push me to talk. Just kept feeding me soup and walking our dog together like nothing had changed. Josh didn't reach out. No texts, no calls. It was like he'd already deleted me from his life. After about a week, I remembered our joint savings. The Future Fund. I hadn't checked it in months. I figured he probably cleared it out already or locked me out. But when I logged in, it was still there. $42,718.42. I sat there staring at it for a long time. I refreshed the page 3 times. I was still on the account. Still had full access. He hadn't changed the password. Hadn't unlinked my info. Maybe he forgot. Maybe he didn't think I'd ever look. Maybe he assumed I'd take the high road. And maybe I would have before. I checked again the next day. Still there. I started thinking. Blah. I thought about all the hours I'd picked up freelance gigs to stash a little more away. All the times I skipped a night out so we could stay on track. All the sacrifices I made for our future. And now what? He got to cheat, keep the apartment, keep the money, keep his little office girlfriend. And I was supposed to walk away with nothing? That didn't feel fair. I didn't take the money. Not yet. But I started imagining it. Started fantasizing about just walking away. Taking it all and starting over somewhere new. Clean break. No goodbyes. No warnings. The idea lodged itself in my brain like a splinter. Every time I checked the account and saw those 5 digits, it pulsed. Every time I thought about how easy it would be, it buzzed. One night, Jen and I were drinking wine on her porch. She asked me, "If you could do anything tomorrow, anything at all, what would you do?" I didn't even hesitate. Disappear. She laughed, but I wasn't joking. I started researching cities. Apartments. Places where no one knew me. Places where I could just be someone else. I had a list in my notes app called Escape Routes. I made a budget. Picked a date. Kept checking the account. Still full. Still mine. Still waiting. And Josh. Still silent. No follow-up. No apology. Not even a check-in to ask how I was doing. That was maybe the worst part. How easily he let go. It made everything we'd built feel disposable. It made me feel disposable. Like I was just a phase he outgrew. But the money was still there. And so was my name on it. And every time I looked at that number I felt less guilty. Maybe that makes me the asshole. I don't know. All I know is something broke that day. And something else started to grow in its place. Something colder. Martyr. More tired of being walked on. I wasn't planning revenge. I wasn't even planning justice. I just wanted out. New life. Fair shake. Something that felt like mine again. And that future fund. It didn't feel like ours anymore. Felt like mine. Didn't happen all at once. That's what I need people to understand. I didn't wake up one morning and decide to commit financial arson. It was a slow, almost surgical detachment. Every day after the breakup, I felt more like a visitor in my own life. I'd wake up in Jen's guest room and stare at the popcorn ceiling for a full hour before moving. My toothbrush sat in a glass that wasn't mine. My clothes were folded into drawers that smelled like someone else's detergent. I didn't live there. I existed there. Josh didn't text. Not once. Check. The first few days I made excuses. Maybe he's giving me space. Maybe he feels guilty. Maybe he doesn't know what to say. But after a week it was obvious. He didn't care. He'd moved on. And I was supposed to do the same. Gracefully. With dignity. With nothing. The joint savings became a ghost in my pocket. I couldn't stop checking it. $42,718.42. That number burned itself into my brain. Every morning I opened the app and stared at it like it was going to speak. Never changed. That was the weird part. He wasn't touching it either. He just left it. Like the money didn't matter anymore. Or like he assumed I wouldn't touch it either. Like he still thought I'd play fair. I started asking myself why I ever thought fair mattered. He cheated. He lied. He told me to my face that he didn't love me anymore. And he didn't even have the decency to pretend to feel bad about it. He got to destroy everything we built and still keep his half of the dream. That felt worse than the betrayal. The idea of leaving town wasn't sudden. Started with a joke. Jen and I were drinking wine one night and I said, "Maybe I'll just move to Vermont and open a candle shop." She laughed. I didn't. That night I looked up apartments in Vermont. Then Oregon. Then New Mexico. It became a ritual. I'd scroll listings until I found something cheap and blank. Places I could disappear. I sold things. My bike. A ring he gave me 2 Christmases ago. My Nintendo Switch. I told Jen I was decluttering. She nodded, but I could tell she knew it was more than that. I was shedding skin. Then I got organized. I opened a fresh email account and made a new online identity with an old nickname from college. Applied for contract gigs. Data cleanup, survey QA, transcription. I wasn't trying to build a career. I just needed believable income. I made fake references. Built a digital paper trail. Bought a prepaid phone, one of those old brick models, and loaded it with a cheap plan. It was methodical. Almost boring. Like planning a heist where the victim would never fight back. The morning I did it, everything felt weirdly normal. The sky was blue. The birds were loud. Jen was in the shower. I sat on the floor with my laptop and made the transfer. All of it. One click. From our joint account to my new one. I took a screenshot. Then deleted the banking app and turned off my phone. I sat there for 20 minutes, staring at nothing. I didn't feel powerful. I didn't feel evil. I felt like someone who finally stepped out of a burning house and didn't look back. By noon I had packed my last bag. I left a note for Jen. Short, honest, not dramatic. Thanked her. Told her she saved my life. That I needed to do something radical to save the rest of it. Then I was gone. The bus ride was long. 8.5 hours. I watched trees blur past the window and imagined myself blinking out of existence. No one knew where I was going. I wasn't even sure I did. I picked the city because the rent was low and the weather was tolerable. That was it. When I arrived, everything felt quieter. The buildings were older. People moved slower. I liked that. I checked into the tiny sublet I found online. It was above a donut shop. The air always smelled like frosting. The walls were yellowing and the floor creaked, but it had a lock and hot water. That was enough. The first night I sat on the floor and ate a sandwich from a gas station. I hadn't eaten all day. I watched the light change on the wall and wondered if Josh had noticed yet. If he'd opened the app and found 0. I pictured his face. Confused, then angry. Maybe calling the bank. Maybe realizing I'd left. But no calls came. No text. No emails. Just silence. I woke up the next morning and realized I hadn't dreamed about him. That was new. Got to work. Set up my freelance accounts. Started bidding for jobs. Took the boring ones. Repetitive ones. Anything to keep me focused. Built a schedule. Made a grocery list. Bought a coffee mug. 1 mug. Just for me. A week passed. Then 2. Still nothing from him. That's when I understood the truth. I could vanish and he wouldn't even flinch. I think that's when I really stopped loving him. Life got very quiet after I left. I don't mean peaceful. I mean quiet. No notifications. No small talk. No background noise of someone else living in the same apartment. Just me and the hum of a mini fridge and the occasional thump from the donut shop below me. I slept strange hours. Ate weird meals. Started talking to myself just to fill the silence. But also, I was okay. Not happy. Not healed. But functional. Had a rhythm. I picked up a few regular freelance clients. Transcription gigs, admin support, online chat moderation. Not glamorous but steady. I'd wake up at 7, make bad coffee, answer emails, take a walk around the block, then work for 6 or 7 hours. Rinse and repeat. I'd made a life out of thin air. And it wasn't much, but it was mine. I thought about Josh less than I expected. That surprised me. I figured I'd be haunted. Checking his socials, spiraling at the thought of him and his coworker playing house in our old apartment. But I didn't look him up. Not once. It was like my brain had just removed him. Clean delete. Still, I had this weird itch in the back of my skull. A sense of being watched or followed or maybe just unfinished. I ignored it at first. Thought it was leftover guilt, even though I didn't really feel guilty. But then things got weird. One night, I came home and the latch on my door was crooked. Not broken, just slightly off like someone had jiggled it too hard. I chalked it up to the building settling. The place was old. No big deal. Then, a few days later, the mailbox was open. Again, not obviously tampered with, but I always locked it. Always. And the little metal flap was hanging crooked when I got home. I checked the contents. Nothing missing, just a flyer and a gas bill. But it made my skin crawl. I asked the donut shop guy downstairs if he'd seen anything. He shrugged. Nah, but this place gets sketchy sometimes at night. Junkies and weirdos. Comforting. I started keeping a knife by the bed. Not a big one, just a kitchen knife. I didn't tell anyone. Who would I tell? I didn't have friends here. I hadn't joined any communities or clubs. My life was one long anonymous shift, and I liked it that way until I didn't. About 3 weeks after the move, I got an email to my new account. No subject line. No text. Just an attachment. A photo of me at a bus station, bags at my feet, looking over my shoulder. It was taken from a distance. Blurry but definitely me. Definitely that day. Froze. Every part of me went cold. I didn't open the email again. I deleted it. Emptied the trash. Turned off the laptop. Then I went and threw up in the bathroom. Someone was watching. Or had been. Maybe still was. Maybe it was a sick coincidence, but I didn't believe in those anymore. I stopped leaving the apartment for a few days. Worked extra hours. Slept less. Kept the blinds shut. Every creak of the floorboards made me jump. My heart lived in my throat. But nothing else happened. No follow-ups. No break-ins. No more photos. And then, just when I'd started to breathe again, I got a call on the burner phone. I never gave that number to anyone. Block number. I let it ring out. Then again the next day. And the next. Always in the morning, around 9 a.m. Never a voicemail. Just one ring. Then silence. I changed the number. Got a new SIM. Set up a forwarding email account and left the old one behind. But the paranoia stuck. I started running scenarios in my head. What if Josh hired someone? What if his new girlfriend worked in tech and traced me? What if I made one wrong move and it all came crashing down? The truth was, I hadn't technically done anything illegal. The money was in a joint account. My name was on it. No contracts. No agreements. But that didn't mean I was safe. That didn't mean someone couldn't decide to make it a problem. I started preparing for another move. Smaller town. Cash payments. No Wi-Fi in my name. But I didn't want to run forever. I didn't want this to become my life. Jumping from shadow to shadow just because one man broke me and I decided not to let him win. So I did something reckless. Emailed him. From a fresh burner address. No subject. Just 3 words. Stop watching me. No response. The next day the calls stopped. But so did something else, the anxiety. The buzzing tension that had been living in my chest. Eased. I still locked the door twice. Still kept the knife near my pillow. But I slept. For the first time in weeks I slept. I don't know if he ever saw the email. I don't know if it was even him. Maybe it was no one. Maybe it was my guilt playing dress up. But the quiet that followed felt earned. Like I'd drawn a line in the sand. Even if no one saw it but me. I wasn't planning on staying in that apartment forever. But I didn't run again. Got back to work. I bought a plant. Started cooking again. Started thinking about what came next. Not in fear but in possibility. And every so often I'd check the news or search his name just to see if anything had blown up. Nothing ever had. He was still out there, still living his life. Still not caring. And that made it easier to keep building mine. So here's the part where things stopped being quiet. Started with a text. Just a single line from a random number I didn't recognize. Hope you're enjoying what isn't yours. I stared at it for 10 minutes. Didn't blink. My hands went cold. My stomach dropped into the floor. I didn't answer. I blocked the number. Then I turned my phone face down and left it on the counter for the rest of the night. But I didn't need confirmation. I knew who it was. Josh had finally noticed. Part of me thought he never would. I honestly started to believe he just forgot. Like I was a minor inconvenience he shrugged off after changing his bedsheets and upgrading to a new girlfriend. But now he was awake. And clearly he wasn't taking it well. The next day I got an email from a new address. Subject: Let's talk. Body: If you think you can run forever, you're wrong. I didn't reply. I closed my laptop and stood up and paced around the room for 20 straight minutes. My heart was thudding so hard I thought I might faint. The thing is, I wasn't scared of him showing up. Not really. I was scared of him being smarter than me. Of him owning the narrative. Of him telling the world a version of the story where I was a psycho and he was just a nice guy who got robbed. And that's exactly what he did. It started on Reddit. An account popped up in our /relationships with the title "X stole our life savings and disappeared. What are my options?" I knew it was him. The writing style, the exact dollar amount, the breakup timeline. He changed just enough to make it anonymous, but I could see it clear as day. It was our story. Just edited. The comments exploded. Some called him naive for keeping the account open. Others said he should go to the police. A few were brutal. Hope she rots. What kind of trash does that? I read them all. Every single one. couldn't look away. It was like watching my own trial play out in a room I wasn't allowed to enter. Then it spread. The post got picked up by drama subs, screenshotted on Twitter, shared in group chats probably. I saw people speculating about who I was. Some even guessed close to my real name. One thread claimed they found my old freelance profile. I nuked every account I'd touched in the last 5 years. Then came the Medium article. No name, but it was him. I recognized the phrasing, the passive-aggressive tone dressed up like empathy. When you think you know someone. A reflection on betrayal. He painted himself as heartbroken. Misled. She was distant, he wrote. Disconnected. I tried so hard to reach her, but she was already gone. Not one word about cheating. Not one word about what he did. Just this clean, curated sob story designed to win stranger sympathy. And it worked. The internet turned on me. Messages started coming in through burner accounts, old contact forms, even comments on stock photos I'd uploaded years ago. You're disgusting. Give the money back, thief. I hope you get hit by a car. I started sleeping with a chair under the doorknob. I wanted to scream. Post my own version. To show screenshots. Proof. But I knew how it would look. The girl who disappeared with the money suddenly has receipts. It would only pour gasoline on the fire. So I shut it all down. Deleted everything. Changed email again. Switched to a VPN, wiped all traces. I logged off completely. Stopped taking new work. Kept my phone on airplane mode. I didn't exist. And still I felt like he was everywhere. I sat on the floor and cried for hours. Not the good kind. The broken, can't breathe, why do I even exist kind. Because he was doing it again, rewriting the truth, twisting it into something convenient for him, and the world was just buying it. And I couldn't fight back. I'd already burned that bridge. I called Jen, even though I knew I shouldn't. I needed to hear someone who remembered the beginning. She answered on the second ring and didn't say anything at first. You okay? No, I said. He found me. Not physically, but online. He's turning me into a monster. She exhaled hard. Do you want me to say you did the right thing? I want you to say I'm not evil. You're not. Even if I kind of am. Even then. Help. Little. But mostly I just had to sit with it. I couldn't undo what I did. I couldn't control what he was doing. The only choice I had was how to respond. And I chose silence. Not because I was ashamed. 'Cause I was done. Done running. Done defending. Done bleeding for people who'd never once offered me a bandage. And yeah, he kept going. More posts. More passive-aggressive essays. I stopped reading them. I let the story go. Let the strangers believe whatever version made them feel righteous. And then something strange happened. My life kept going. Found new work. Bought a second-hand couch. Painted my kitchen yellow. I started sleeping again. Eating again. Laughing sometimes. I saw a dog in a sweater one day and laughed so hard I startled myself. He didn't win. Not really. Because I'm still here. This might be the last time I write about it. Not because I'm scared, I'm not. Not because it hurts, not anymore. But because it's done. Complete. A chapter closed so thoroughly that I almost can't believe I ever lived in that other version of myself. I feel like I'm writing about a movie I once saw, not a life I actually lived. And yet I remember everything. I remember the pasta on the plate when he told me. I remember the way the air smelled that night. I remember packing a duffel bag in silence while he scrolled his phone. I remember the name of the street where the first bus pulled away from the station. I remember the taste of gas station coffee, and the tremble in my hands the first time I transferred the money. I remember how it felt to wake up in a new city with no one knowing who I was. But more than that, I remember surviving. It didn't happen overnight. I won't pretend it was all triumph and rebirth and fresh starts. There were low points, deep ones. Nights I stared at the ceiling wondering if I had destroyed my own future by trying to reclaim it. Days when I couldn't remember what I was fighting for. Panic attacks in grocery store aisles. Silence that felt like it might swallow me whole. But I kept going. I built systems. Routines. I started writing again, badly at first, then better. I read old paperbacks from used bookshops and underlined sentences that made me feel alive. I learned how to cook meals for one. I gave myself permission to laugh at bad TV. I walked for hours through neighborhoods where no one knew my face. Eventually the fear faded. I didn't notice it happening, it just slipped away. Like a weight falling off a shoulder I'd gotten used to carrying. And then something even stranger happened. I started to feel proud. Not proud of the mess. Not of the way I ran or the money I took or the chaos that followed. But proud that I didn't stay frozen. Proud that I moved. Proud that I saved myself when no one else was going to. I know people will still call me names. I know someone somewhere has screenshots of those Reddit posts. Maybe one day a nosy coworker will stumble across the drama. Maybe someone will recognize me at a coffee shop. But you know what? Can live with that. Because I've already lived through worse. Josh faded. Eventually, the post stopped. The essays got fewer likes. He tried to relaunch a podcast of all things, one about emotional resilience, but it flopped after 3 episodes. The drama subs forgot. The DMs dried up. And me. I was still standing. Scratch that. I was thriving. Last month I signed a lease on a real apartment. Not a sublet. Not a temporary thing. My name on the contract. Have a mailbox key. A laundry room with a weird vending machine that sells socks. I have a tiny balcony where I grow basil and drink coffee and let bean roll around in the sun. I work under my new name now. Not because I'm hiding but because I like it. It's mine. I own it. I send invoices with it. I sign holiday cards with it. When I introduce myself, I don't flinch. I don't wait for the other shoe to drop. I bought health insurance. I joined a book club. I made a new friend, a real one. Her name is Naomi. She doesn't know everything. Just enough. She brings over soup when I'm sick and makes fun of my playlists. She said the other day, "You're so grounded." And I laughed because if she only knew. Maybe one day I'll tell her. Or maybe not. Maybe this life gets to exist on its own, without being the aftershock of something awful. Maybe I get to be someone who made it out and didn't collapse under the guilt. And no, I'm not giving the money back. He had months to talk to me. To own up. To ask. To apologize. He did none of that. He cheated. He lied. He discarded me. Then he tried to destroy me publicly instead of looking inward. He weaponized sympathy and made a performance out of pain, but not once did he show actual remorse. So no, he doesn't get a refund. He gets silence, distance, absence, and I get a life. Not a perfect one. Not flashy, but real. I wake up every morning in sheets I picked out myself. Check my email. Feed Bean. I light a candle. I stretch. I work. I plan dinners. I refill my spice jars. I dance in the kitchen when a good song comes on. I laugh out loud when I want to. I don't miss him. I don't miss who I was with him. I don't miss the version of me that was always waiting to be chosen. So no Reddit. I'm not the asshole. I'm just free.